Okay, hey guys. I am going to do this as if I'm live. I went live, I don't know, 4 or 5 times today, and I thought it was an issue on my end. Then I switched computers and still had issues. Then I dismantled the webcam, also took off the audio, and still was glitchy on Facebook. So I am going to record this and put it out there because because so there's just a few things I want to say, and I'm going to treat this as if it's a live and it's not a set video, because lives you kind of have the action going. You're hearing comments, but I want to make a few comments, and the first thing I want to say is, after watching these press conferences, at this point, I don't think that Trump should be giving these press conferences. I think he should hand it over to Mike Pence and let them just kind of give their updates. The reason why I say this is because the media hates Trump. I mean, we know that, right? They hate Trump. They're not there to have a real dialogue or to ask questions or to really gain insight and then relay that to the American people. They are solely there to destroy the president. They're solely there to catch him saying something and twist it and manipulate it. They are hanging on his every word, hoping to spin it and cause it to have some negative impact and headline news media outlets with something Trump said and how they can spin it in a negative way. They're not there because they want to hear from the president and then relay to the American people what the president is trying to say. So at this point, and Trump campaigned on taking it straight to the American people. We don't need Trump to talk to the press and then the press talks to us. We don't need that. We don't need the press. The press is the enemy of the people. The press is out to destroy the president. The press, most of the press is owned by China, okay? And almost all of the press is for the Democrat Party. They move and operate for the Democrat Party. So I don't even know why we're even dealing with the press at this point. No. If I was Trump and if I had the opportunity to send some advice his way, I would say go straight to Twitter, use Facebook, have a rally or a huge thing on Facebook or Twitter or YouTube or whatever. Use different ways to reach and talk to the people. Don't do it. They're trying to catch him in something. They're trying to say something and twist it, and then you get Biden over there from his basement, half here, half not here, manipulating and twisting the president's words as well. So at this point, I say enough. But that's just me. That's what I think. So next thing I really quick wanted to address is, if at this point you're still advocating for a lockdown and you're still advocating for this to continue on, you're either watching CNN, a socialist, or you're still getting paid because America is desperately hurting right now, desperately hurting. I know it's very uncomfortable to talk about, but child abuse cases are up right now because of this virus. Their children are dealing with frustrated parents. They're in closed, confined places, and there's child abuse cases that are occurring at a way increased rate right now. Suicide is up, drug abuse is up, domestic violence is up, and we've got 27 million Americans now unemployed. And if you're still saying, oh no, the virus, there's no science, okay? There's no science behind staying inside and quarantining the healthy. There's no science behind it. And most of you guys have already seen this video. It's a viral video by Dr. Erickson. There are a couple doctors actually out of California. I couldn't agree with them more. When I talk to people that I know that that are doctors, because I do know some, and people that are microbiologists, and people that have sent me stuff to Conservative Momma, being doctors and presenting all of this evidence to me, the more stuff and information I gain and read, this all doesn't make any sense to me. None of it. and I love the way these doctors describe it because it's so simple. A baby in the womb comes out of the womb with almost no immune system, right? I mean, my kids, when they're little, they catch stuff, they get sick. Sorry, you can't go to school. That happens for a while until you build up an immunity. Well, as we stay in our homes, and as we're quarantining ourselves, we are having our immune systems shut down. Our immune systems are not being exposed to the proper viruses and bacteria to build the flora that we need to fight viruses themselves. You have to have the antibodies to fight a virus, and we're not building any immunity right now as we sit in our home and we clean and we wash our hands and we sanitize everything. We need actually to be exposed to viruses. We need to be exposed to bacteria. We need it in order to have a healthy immune system. And we're not doing that right now. So there is no science behind quarantining healthy people. None at all. So it makes me question, what are we following? If at this point we're not following science, because science has always said quarantine the sick. Always. I mean, when you read the history books, there's leper colonies. And there's all these different places where they quarantine the sick so it doesn't spread to the rest of the population. Okay? And if it does seep out, then, and normally it does, just normally we are exposed to all sorts of viruses every single day. Every single day we're being exposed to viruses, to bacteria, to sickness, to disease, and we have antibodies that fight this. But as we sit in our homes, we're no longer fighting it. So the concern to me is, what science are we following? Because this isn't science. Staying inside and quarantining, and we're seeing these governors extend lockdowns with this isn't science they're following. It's not science. And some people are like, well, we need to wait for a vaccine. Just so you know, most vaccines, most viruses have no vaccines. Most viruses have no vaccines, okay? So we could be waiting forever. We could be waiting forever for a vaccine for COVID-19. Forever. Or, hey, we could come up with a vaccine that's as accurate as the flu vaccine for COVID-19. And the whole reason we were staying in our homes and we were quarantining is because we weren't trying to get rid of the virus. The virus is here. Okay, you just have to accept that. The virus is here. It's here. You are going to probably come in contact with it. And either you've got the immunity to fight it or you don't. And if you're immune compromised or if you're elderly, you don't want to risk coming in contact with it, you should quarantine. You should take that choice. Well, it's up to you. I'm not going to tell you what you should do, actually. It's up to you because you're American. You have the right to choose. You have your individual liberty. And if you don't want to risk that, then you should, hey, I'm going to stay inside for a little bit longer. I'm going to quarantine a little bit longer. I want to wait for a vaccine, which you could be waiting for a long time. But you have to make that decision. But for the government to come in and to mandate healthy people staying in their homes until the virus goes away, that's just absurd because the virus isn't going away. The virus is here. It's here. And so none of this makes sense to me. There's no science behind it. And the more microbiologists and immunologists I talk to, they're like, this, I don't know what we're doing. I honestly don't know what this is. This protocol pushed by the CDC is not science. This isn't science. You don't quarantine healthy people. And we could be waiting a really, really long time. So I wanted to say that. I have a couple other things. My notes just went away. But what was I going to say? Hold on a second. I'm going to finish this. It's like alive. So you just got to go with it. What is it I had? And I think of all the people that are suffering because of this. It doesn't make any sense. Oh, okay. Yeah. And the whole reason we were doing this, right? The whole reason we were doing this, remember, the whole reason we were doing this is because we wanted to flatten the curve and we didn't want to overwhelm the hospitals, right? They said it was going to be war zones. They said it was going to be just terrible. We were building like extra hospitals and it was just going to be nuts. And so we had to flatten the curve and all quarantine in our homes so the hospitals weren't overwhelmed. Well, now Now, when I go on TikTok, I see numerous videos of nurses and doctors dancing in their PPE gear. So I think to myself, I think we're past that point. I do. I think we're past the point of overwhelming our hospitals, because that's we are. We're over that point. There's no reason at this point right now that any of us, should be still in lockdown. This doesn't make sense. And if you enjoy this, then you most likely are a socialist, and you're most likely hoping to destroy Trump because you want this economy to tank even further. I mean, let's just keep it real. That's what you want. Okay? And if you're a Democrat and you're like, no, we want to save lives. Okay, I would believe you if you weren't the party that funded and supported Planned Parenthood, and you weren't the party that supported abortion, where over 600,000 babies in the womb are aborted every single year. Then maybe I would think, yeah, they do care about life. But I can't go there with you. I just can't. I'm sorry, I can't. I can't take you seriously or even have you for a minute tell me that you care about life. Because science says a baby in the womb is a human life. And the science we're following right now it's not science. This is not science to quarantine healthy people. So this is where we're at. And if you're enjoying this and you want to further this, then you obviously have a political agenda. It's to hurt the president. It's to hurt America, basically. And if you think that if you for a second think that the government can continue to turn out checks and send you money while you sit at home, you're wrong. You're completely and totally wrong. Because at this point, we don't have the money. Okay, we are trillions and trillions and trillions and trillions of dollars in debt. And if we're now just printing money. And if you start to do that, then you're dealing with inflation. And if you don't want to know what inflation is, that means that my cell phone here could go for $50,000. There's no value. There's nothing to hold the line. There's nothing that says what something is worth when you start printing money. That's inflation. Before you know it, you have a great depression descend upon this country. And so it's a huge concern for me. It's time for us to be working. It's time for us to get back to work. And that's what I want to say. So I wish I could do this live. Sadly, I can't read comments or anything like that. I can only just record and post. But thank you guys. Share this video if you want. We'll talk soon. Bye, guys.